Hello, you've caught me playing Shadow of the Colossus on PS4. So beautiful, what a remake, it's bringing back so many wonderful memories.
Apart from the ones about how to actually defeat the Colossi. I mean, the first three are pretty simple, you just, climb and stab, climb and stab. But I got to Colossus number 5 and for the life of me I just couldn't remember the thing I had to do to get up there and kill it.
For God's sake, stupid brain, it's just too full of overdraft limits and student loan repayments and how many nappies I need to buy, for my daughter obviously.
All the important stuff, how to win at Shadow of the Colossus, has been squished down to the bottom. My brain is like some kind of cerebral trash compactor. And so I'm fighting these bosses as if for the first time, which, don't get me wrong, is kind of cool, but it also means I've got to go through
the 7 stages everyone goes through during tough boss battles.
Number 1, the test run. This is when you're not trying to win, not really. You're simply poking a stick into the hornet's nest to see how it reacts. About 1% of the time you'll get lucky and the hornet's nest will crumble and be all like, "Ah, no, not a stick, my one weakness."
But 99% of the time, the hornets will just fly out and kill you.
Oh, so that didn't work then, you think to yourself, but it's fine. That was just the test run. You're just seeing what you're up against, what attacks your enemy is capable of, how fast they move, what sort of range they have, etc. At this point, you're still perfectly happy.
That boss killed me easily. What a successful test run that is. I'm really enjoying myself.
This quickly leads to stage 2. Which is when things get serious and you knuckle down and start learning the attack pattern. During this stage, you're still unsure whether the boss you're fighting is a full-on 7-stager. Often, you'll have 3 or 4 attempts and triumph, in which case the boss you were fighting wasn't really a tough boss after all, it was just a 2-stager.
Most Colossi are 2-stagers, I find, as well as some of the more forgiving Soulsborne bosses, and any of the Metal Gear bosses Hideo Kojima couldn't be bothered to make really obscure.
However, if you're fighting a true 7-stager, this is when things start to get dark. You'll learn one bit about the boss and get good at that one bit, but then they whip something unexpected out of nowhere, often killing you in one go. Then you learn that's coming, master it, chisel your way a bit further through their health bar, and they do something else.
Often this something else will be a mid-battle form change. Think Father Gascoigne turning into that horrible monster, or Dulmagus from Dragon Quest VIII suddenly sprouting wings.
The end of stage 2 usually occurs when something very specific happens. You'll have battled your way through all the boss's tricks, committed to memory all the sly feints and form changes, to the point where you prepare for them before they've even happened. It's your best run yet, and the boss has a tiny sliver of health left. Your heart starts beating. Your composure escapes you. You fumble, newly acquired muscle memory leaking through your hands.
Or is that just sweat? I don't know.
You panic and mash the attack button. Surely one of these hits will connect and take off that last centimetre of health, you scream internally. They don't, and you die. This is the summit of stage 2. You've climbed to the peak, and now you're looking down into the yawning black abyss of stage 3.
Gradually getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
And worse. Stage 3 is the road to the lowest point. Everything you learned in stage 2 goes out the window and you start making stupid mistakes. You know exactly what the boss is going to do by now, but for some reason you can't function. Your thumbs feel numb. The repetition has dulled your skill and your enthusiasm. Sort of like what might happen if you made 160 list features in a row.
In the history of video games, no one has ever beaten a boss in stage 3. And if you think you have, you haven't. You were still in stage 2.
Occasionally you'll put a good run together in stage 3 and maybe knock 3/4 of the boss's health off. But crucially, you'll never get a run as good as that final run you had in stage 2, where you panicked and ballsed it up while on the brink of victory. Then, eventually, to mark the end of stage 3, You'll produce an attempt so heinously bad, it'll make you wonder whether or not some cartoon aliens have stolen all your gaming skill by sucking it into a magic DualShock. You'll barely make an impression on the boss's health bar, and you'll likely die by running backwards into one of your own attacks or something. Cue stage 4.
5 times! Bloody chop it off!
All the noise in the world!
The Rage Quit. You've had enough, and you're never going to beat this boss. Stage 4 can often be made even worse by having to buy a new controller after yours goes hurtling into the wall, and can even be game-ending if, like me fighting Radek at the end of Killzone 2, you take the disc out of the PlayStation and snap it in half. One last act of physical defiance against a foe you cannot touch in the virtual world.
Stage 4 is quite dangerous because even if you don't break the disc, a rage quit can still lead to a rage sulk, whereby you don't play the game for like 2 weeks or something.
Which is a disaster because by then your stage 4 has become stage 1 again and you've got to start everything from the beginning. So it's very important while in stage 4 that you move quickly and focus that rage into stage 5, which I like to call sleeping on it.
Now, sleeping on it doesn't necessarily have to be sleeping on it. What's important is that you distance yourself from whatever tough boss it is you're facing, be it in Dark Souls, Crash Bandicoot, Snoopy's Grand Adventure.
Whatever it is, just take a step back. If it's late at night, then go to sleep. Recharge your own health bar. Let those constant images of defeat fade away into your subconscious. Dream about your old science teacher turning up at your workplace and telling you you've got to resit your chemistry GCSE, and then that you've turned up to the exam with no pants on. You know, whatever it is you like to dream about.
Alternatively, you could play something else, something completely different, something calming.
When I die loads of times in Dark Souls 3, I like to calm down with a nice, gentle game of Pez. I put the difficulty down to top player, choose Barcelona and play against someone rubbish like Liverpool, someone I can take apart with ease. It's therapeutic and helps realign my scrambled boss battle instincts. And failing that, you can go for a walk to clear your head. Get out the house, get some fresh air, let the rage simmer down. Technically, you're still fighting that boss. This isn't a final defeat, you're just gathering yourself for your next assault.
So, if you're out and about and you see someone walking really fast, looking annoyed, head down, chances are they're not commuting, they're just playing Dark Souls. Leave them alone.
After you've had a good break, I guarantee you'll start smashing that boss right up. You still remember everything you learned in stage 2, you're past the numbing repetition of stage 3, you've calmed the rage of stage 4, you're recharged thanks to stage 5, and you enter the most crucial stage of all.
Stage 6 can last mere seconds, but I cannot stress enough how crucial it is.
It's when you get the boss down to that last bit of health. Again, you feel your heartbeat rising, but this time your composure must rise to meet it, because this is it. If you let your panic win, then you can go from stage 6 straight back to the end of stage 2 like a cruel version of boss battle Snakes and Ladders, and you cannot let that happen. You've been through too much now. You've emptied your rage, you've dodged everything the boss can throw at you, and so, like a tennis player with 3 championship points on their own serve, you must calmly finish your adversary.
Father Gascoigne from Bloodborne is the boss battle I remember going through stage 6 on most keenly.
I had him down to this much health before, and he'd mauled me in his monster form. But now I just treated it like any other stage of the fight. I kept my distance, consumed a blood vial or 3, waited for him to make his move, and then BAM! I slid in, perfectly controlled, and took him out. Victory achieved. You see the screen. You've done it. And stage 7 comes thundering through your insides like a storm surge, erupting out of your mouth without a care for anyone else in the vicinity.
Yes! Yes! Told you you could do it! Yes, Robert, I knew you would!
Stage 7 is elation. The kind of elation that can only come with having downed a 7-stager. You don't get this kind of feeling with anything else. Defeating bog standard 2-stagers just feels like, yeah, whatever, of course I've won. But going through that kaleidoscope of emotion and coming out the other end the victor just feels so damn sweet. So take that, Colossus number 5, have some of that, Father Gascoigne, eat my steel, Ornstein and Smuff, Smoff, Smoo, Smaug, yeah!
Then the elation ebbs, the soul's-born emotion tide pulls away, and on the horizon you see another boss wave forming, coming ever closer.
Because the cycle goes on in games with 7 stages. You beat one, you're never far away from the next. And so you stand in the post-victory shallows, waiting for the next difficulty wave to break over your head as you enter stage 1 all over again. Man, I love video games. So there you have it, the 7 stages of tough boss battles. Have you been through these? Are there any stages you think we've missed? Let us know in the comments, give us a like if this video rings true for you, and subscribe if you haven't yet for more of these lists every Friday. Thanks for watching.